Hey, this is Zulem Urbina, and tune into the relay for the latest news in boxing all around the world. Thank you for supporting myself and other female boxers. We truly appreciate it.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Set to go down on the undercard of Stephanie Hahn versus Holly Holm 2. Unified middleweight champion Desley Robinson of Australia will be defending her IBF and WBO titles against Canada's own amateur standout Mary Spencer. And what is sort of a last chance saloon fight for Mary Spencer, who's still coming off that lopsided loss to Mikaela Mayer that costed her her alphabet title. She was only a junior middleweight champion briefly. Initially, it was Natasha Jonas that held the WBA title at that weight, but she didn't stay there. She moved down, so when the title became vacant, Mary was elevated to full champion, at which point she lost it to Mikaela Mayer in lopsided fashion, and now she's getting another crack at the apple against Desley Robinson, albeit at a higher weight, middleweight. Desley Robinson, one of MVP's recent signees, sports a professional record of 11 wins with 3 losses and no draws, 4 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 14 professional bouts, and having already made her MVP debut with a knockout win over Logan Haller.
A hit dog, Will Haller.
She's now facing Canada's own Mary Spencer, who sports a professional record of 10 wins with 3 losses and no draws, 6 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 13 professional bouts. A tall drink of boxing, a tall drink of water. Mary really is one of the bigger fighters anywhere at or around these weights. A lot of height. She's got a lot of power, too. It's her X's and O's that are lacking. Her defense, her instincts. Upon debuting as a pro, I had very, very high hopes for Mary Spencer, and things didn't pan out for her the way I thought they would. I thought that she would do a lot better than she's doing. I thought that she would be further along than she is now, but an opportunity has once again presented itself for Mary, who lost to Mikaela back there in October of last year. Wasn't that long ago, so she won't have any ring rust to have to shake off. I think that the matchmakers really knew what they were doing with this one, because this fight between her and Desley yields all the potential to be a barn burner, to be a shootout between two heavy-handed, albeit flawed fighters. Where Mary Spencer is coming right off a loss, Desley Robinson, the defending champion, is coming off of 6 consecutive wins after having dropped a decision in 2024 to Kay Scotch, who currently reigns as this division's only other unified champion. The 4 alphabet titles at this weight are split between Desley and Kay Scott, who already beat her. Yeah, but then she beat Kay Scott. Their initial meeting was in March of 2024, and their subsequent rematch was in December of that same year. Kay Scott won the first one, and Desley won the second. Thus, there is a precedent for a rubber match, a third fight, a tiebreaker, especially now that there would be more on the line, though I don't get the sense it's gonna happen. Why not? Where Desley Robinson is promoted by MVP, Kay Scott is currently promoted by Salida Promotions, and I believe that Salida is gonna guide Kay Scott in perhaps a different direction. At the end of this year, I could see Lauren Price moving up to middleweight to challenge Kay Scott for her 2 alphabet titles. Simultaneously, I could see MVP making a fight between Tam Tebow, their unbeaten up-and-comer from Canada, against the winner of this fight. The winner of Robinson versus Spencer. Whether it's Desley Robinson that wins or Mary Spencer that wins, I believe the winner of that fight, that champion, will then be fed to Tam Tebow, who I would give very good odds to beat both. I think that Tam Tebow can knock out either fighter to become unified champion herself. This is what I think is going to happen instead of an undisputed middleweight title fight. Put simply, even though there's a precedent for Kay Scotch and Desley Robinson to fight for a third time, I just don't think there's enough money in it, and I don't think there's enough interest in it. So they will take those champions in different directions. Desley Robinson versus Mary Spencer yields all the potential to be a barn burner. I don't think it's going to be as lopsided as the Mayer fight was for Mary, because Desley's a lot older than a Mikaela Mayer, a lot more flawed than a Mikaela Mayer. Not saying that she can't fight, but she's not competing at the level of a Mikaela Mayer, so I don't expect this fight to be as lopsided. And both fighters can punch. Both fighters hit hard, so this could be a fun one. The matchmakers knew what they were doing with this one, and we'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, you may have heard yesterday that Warner Brothers Discovery strikes boxing alliance with DAZN for monthly TNT showcase. Warner Brothers Discovery's sports division has no problem showing up on the college basketball court, the professional hockey rink, or the big league baseball field. In recent years, however, it hasn't climbed regularly into the boxing ring. Starting in July, it will. Warner's TNT Sports and streaming sports outlet DAZN unveiled a new alliance Thursday that will create monthly boxing events shown under the rubric The Quote-Unquote Fight that will appear monthly on TNT and on DAZN streaming properties. DAZN can curate matches based on its alliances with top boxing promoters, including Top Rank, Matchroom, Golden Boy, Queensbury. The first event is slated for July 4th, and it will include related programming on Warner's True TV. This is not the first we've heard of Warner Brothers Discovery taking an interest in showing boxing matches. A few weeks and a few months back, they were rumored to be one of Top Rank's potential broadcast partners upon their departure from ESPN. So this does confirm that Warner Brothers Discovery want to start showing boxing matches, just not exclusively with Top Rank. The two companies, Warner Brothers Discovery and DAZN, aim to now bolster the presence of boxing in the United States. While ESPN and DAZN and Netflix all show boxing regularly, the sports halo is no longer as large. After Warner's HBO and Paramount's Showtime both got out of the business of backing pay-per-view cards, activity that once bolstered their operations. HBO exited boxing way back there in 2018, and Showtime followed in 2023. Now Warner Brothers and DAZN want to make boxing more a part of TV sports. The goal is to have one championship fight every month on primetime on TNT and simulcast on DAZN, says Walker Jacobs, Global Chief Revenue Officer of DAZN and President of its U.S. operations. How can we make boxing part of the mainstream culture? Make it as big as its history has been. Putting matches on TNT can bring in more casual fans, says Raphael Poplock, TNT Sports Senior Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, Content Acquisitions, and Business Development, during a recent interview, while also serving hardcore boxing aficionados. The two companies will share revenue from the venture, says Jacobs, who likens the alliance to the partnership Warner has with Paramount when it comes to telecasting the annual NCAA March Madness men's basketball tournament. You know, I wondered about that. I wondered about the finances, because how's it supposed to work out to where DAZN and TNT are sharing an event, sharing a fight? Because these are not pay-per-views that we're talking about. These are regular fights as part of a regular schedule. I wondered, is TNT putting up any money? Are they making any kind of an investment? Still an element of this deal that seems nebulous to me. The new alliance has its roots in a partnership TNT Sports and DAZN struck to show the FIFA Club World Cup last year. Both companies were impressed by the advertising results tied to the event, says Jacobs, with DAZN excited by Warner's facility with programming. They really know how to engage audiences, have a talent. If the quote-unquote fight sounds familiar to a series of celebrity golf tournaments that TNT Sports back under the title The Match, well, it's probably not a coincidence. TNT has created several new sports franchises that are less reliant on the nation's major sports leagues, part of a growing effort by traditional media companies to take more control over the sports rights that fill up so much more of their programming schedules. The cost to show top-tier games from the NFL and NBA, among others, continues to rise. With that in mind, many of the nation's big media companies have tried to launch their own entities. Warner also works with the 3-on-3 unrivaled Women's Basketball League, and recently unveiled a new Dunkman League alongside Shaquille O'Neal, while showing games that Major League Baseball and National Hockey League. We love our premier partners, and that matters very deeply, and we like to complement that with early sponsorship of new leagues, says Poplock. TNT Sports will deliver additional programming and content tied to the boxing events on venues including Bleacher Report and House of Highlights. True TV will serve as a venue for such things as event weigh-ins, press conferences, and other features. So what they're trying to bring back is the spillover. Those of you that have been following this channel long enough will have heard me say that the problem with DAZN is it can only advertise its content to already existing subscribers, which makes it difficult to grow that base because unless you already have the app, you're not going to know what's going on. You're not going to know what they have. The hope is that by sharing some fights with more conventional media, like a cable channel, like a TNT, for example, you can draw casual observers the way that boxing used to when basic cable packages were a lot more popular and more people had them. People that may have been channel surfing, looking for something to watch, bump into a boxing match that looks pretty good, and they decide to stick around. That's something that sort of went away over time. As more and more Americans moved away from basic cable packages to subscribe to only the content they want to watch. This was to save money. It led to what was the advent of streaming, and streaming platforms are all the rage, but they compartmentalize the content in such a way it's difficult to grow the base. Everything becomes niche. Don't you see that almost nothing is mainstream anymore because it's all broken up? Sitcoms used to be popular, boxing, even bigger sports like the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, the MLB. They're not as big now as they used to be because the sports rights are all broken up. It's all fragmented. So almost nothing feels mainstream anymore. And that's what this alliance hopes to remedy. By partnering up with a streaming platform, TNT gets additional content for their catalog, and DAZN gets exposure they wouldn't otherwise get. Is it gonna work? While this novel solution isn't a bad idea to remedy this ongoing problem, there is another problem that is yet to be addressed. Pricing. So you're going to do monthly boxing matches on your platform in the hopes that it will spark interest from your viewers to then subscribe to DAZN. Except DAZN as a platform is one of the pricier apps on the market. And it's only getting more expensive. It's only gotten more expensive since they debuted in this country. You might have a guy that bumps into an Abdullah Mason fight on TNT. Maybe the guy likes what he sees, maybe he wants to see more, up until he sees what DAZN costs. Singularly, it's hard to imagine that single fights, occasional fights, month to month on TNT are gonna drive subscriptions the way DAZN needs them to. That by itself. And I think the true value of this alliance doesn't all rest on the shoulders of TNT so much as an overall effect. That there is now boxing happening on Netflix, on Paramount, now TNT, in tandem with the streaming platform DAZN. That the more boxing ends up on all these different platforms, the more it re-enters the public consciousness. In tandem with the effects of influencer boxing, marketing the sport to a younger generation that would not have been otherwise exposed to it, and of course, whatever boxing you can bump into on the YouTube platform, which is tantamount to a terrestrial network all by itself. The more places boxing pops up, the more it re-enters the mainstream, the public consciousness, not simply because TNT is getting involved, but because to the consumer, it would be everywhere you look, almost everywhere you go, which theoretically could leave someone so inclined to watch. I also imagine that with TNT getting involved, at least fiscally, it could alleviate the burden of putting some of these fights together. That if an Abdullah Mason is fighting a Joe Cordina, to some extent, TNT will help foot the bill to offset the operational costs of the event, which theoretically could alleviate the financial burden on Top Rank and DAZN for being the ones that put it together. More money. What it means is more money. More money being tied into a show. It's more help. I like the idea, though I question its effectiveness in the short term and the long term. Will it work? Is this how boxing will return to the mainstream? I'm not sure, but I hope it does. It's more or less the same stance that I have with Zuffa Boxing. I'm not rooting for them to fail. I just question their effectiveness. Question whether or not what they're trying to do is going to work. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, the IRS is seeking $7.3 million from Floyd Mayweather per Business Insider. The IRS filed a lien against Floyd Mayweather in Vegas. It says he owes $7.2 million for unpaid taxes from 2018 to 2023. The boxer was recently sued for other alleged unpaid bills. The IRS has filed a $7.3 million lien against the famed boxer. God almighty, this guy owes so many people money, he's gonna have to keep fighting well into his 60s. The lien was filed last month in Las Vegas, where Mayweather has property. The notice shows the balance was unpaid as of March 26. An attorney for Mayweather declined to comment on it. The lien, though which the government can lay claim to Mayweather's property until the debt is paid off, more money issues for the once renowned Money May. Floyd has scheduled 2 exhibition fights coming up and a controversial fight with Manny Pacquiao Pacquiao later this year, and it said that Floyd's arrangement for a rematch with Manny Pacquiao, which is supposed to be a real fight, not an exhibition, would have required Floyd to withdraw from that exhibition with Mike Zambides, from that exhibition with Mike Tyson.
Why?
Well, the event coordinators are not kicking out all this money so that Floyd can jeopardize the event doing a waltz with a different fighter or different fighters ahead of what's supposed to be his fight with Manny. Even if the Mike Zambides and Mike Tyson fights are supposed to be exhibitions, what if you pull a muscle, a strain? What if you suffer a cut? What if anything happens that could jeopardize the Pacquiao fight?
There goes the neighborhood.
And all the money they've got tied to the event, it was Jas Mathur, president of Manny Pacquiao Promotions, that said it. And he's also the one that said Floyd Mayweather has already taken several multi-million-dollar cash advances on what's supposed to be his purse for the Pacquiao fight.
Could he have done that to pay what he owes the IRS?
I haven't seen it myself, so I'd rather see things before I talk about it. But I have, they did say that there has been advances that have been made, that Netflix has given Mayweather some financial advances. And we're talking millions of dollars. I don't know exactly, but when I threw out a figure, they said it's even higher than what I threw out. I threw out multiple millions of dollars. That Netflix has provided some money. That Floyd apparently has taken the contracts that he's had and has gone to a lender and said, look, I'm going to be earning all of this money. Here's the signed contract proving so. And then that the lender has given him some cash up front based on that as well. So he's basically taken these numerous advances on the earnings that he's going to take. And look, as we look at this situation, guys, it strikes me that we know how precious Floyd's O is on his record. He's 50-0, unbelievable career. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. But he's also, it appears to be in financial straits. And the two great loves of his life, money and that zero, are conflicting with each other right now. And he's in a pickle. He's in dire straits, so to speak. And how this exactly is going to play out, you would imagine that Floyd Mayweather will come to his senses and say, look, I have no choice but to participate in this fight. I've got to be at my best and win this fight to keep that O going.
It's a common sense argument. The man is broke. Because why would he have to go to a high-profile lender to borrow millions upon millions of dollars against this fight purse for a fight he hasn't even had yet?
Why would he have to do that if he's not fucking broke?
Guy's fucking broke. Al Heyman skinned him, and the boxing media doesn't want to talk about it, because the boxing media are the ones who put Al Heyman on a pedestal, but Al's the one who put Floyd in this situation.
He's the one who stole all his money.
You're watching Floyd Mayweather year after year, ripping and running and scheduling exhibition matches at a feverish pace.
Trying to keep up with his own lifestyle, trying to keep up with his own bills, to the point he now has to officially unretire and fight in a real fight because that's how skinned he is.
The media doesn't want to talk about it or hold Al Heyman responsible. I'm telling you, the attitudes would be a lot different if it were Bob Arum, if it were Eddie Hearn, if it were one of them that stole from one of their fighters what Al Heyman is reported to have stolen from Floyd. They crucify them.
But when it's Al, they want to get tight-lipped.